Rendering a dusk or night scene presents its own unique challenges when you're using the daylight system. What I'm going to do is shift my daylight over to a very, very low muted dusk, and then I'll be able to turn on the exterior lights and see them. I'll start out by picking that daylight assembly head, pressing H to select from the scene, scrolling up in the list and choosing daylight when I can find it. There's the daylight system, and I'll click OK. What I'm going to do in here is to mute down the multiplier to zero point 0.5. I'll also soften out the shadows to 2.5 and increase the samples to 16 so I don't get any dots in that render. Now I'll scroll down, and I'm going to mute out the sky as well, pushing its multiplier down to 0.4. I'll add some haze in, putting in a haze of 3, and this will add a contributing yellow in that rendering. Now I'll go into my exposure and press 8 to bring up the environment dialog. And here in the exposure, I was running, well, fairly fast and fairly tight for a daylight rendering, and so I'm going to open this up. I'll bring back the speed to 200, open up that aperture to, well, let's try an f7, and take that shutter speed down. I'm going to try a 400th of a second and see how that looks. What I'll also do is stop burning the highs as much, pulling it back down to 0.2, raising the midtones back to 1, and letting the shadows come back up, only crushing them to 0.2. And this way, instead of such a wide range, it's a little closer, a little muddier, but a little softer looking. Now I'll do a test render and see how this looks. I'll pull up my rendered frame window and set up my region by clicking the Edit Region button. I'll drag out my region over most of the house, and there's one more thing in here. I need to make sure I take out that sky I had put in the background. I'll press M for my material editor once I hit Escape to get out of the region render. And here's my physical sky. In my physical sky then, I'll uncheck Use Custom Background Map, as I'd like to use actually the sky as my background. I'll also make sure I check Inherit from Mental Ray Sky, and this is going to take on the sky tint that I had put in over here in the daylight system. Now I'll go back in my camera if I'm not still in it, and render out that region. It's definitely a low sunset rendering, although I'd like to lower it a little bit more. One of the things you can do is tune your eye to read the final gather. And in this case, I'm looking at the final gather values and seeing that it's still too bright. I'll hit Escape, and I'm going to lower the multiplier on that sun and sky even more. Here's a multiplier of 0.2 on the sky and 0.2 on the sun. I'll try one more test render and see how it looks. This is better. There's a very, very low sun and inky black shadows, and now I'm ready to turn on those exterior lights. You may find that when you're using the daylight system for dusk, it's still really bright, and you still need to take it way back down, so you'd think it's going to be dark, but in reality you get that low sunset you're after, and that'll make your exterior light fixtures look really good.